Before you come with your pitchforks, I know that Ted himself confirmed for us in the future that he and Robin are still friends, that she still plays an active role in the life of his kids. I mean, season 1, episode 1 has Ted calling her Aunt Robin to his kids. So if we just look at it on the surface of things, we can consider that, yeah, they are written as friends within the story. However, as I continue to watch the show and the choices Ted makes and what he says in his interaction with Robin and vice versa, it has me wondering if they actually are friends, and not just Robin, but if Ted has ever truly been friends with any of the women he's claimed, however briefly, to be the one. But before I get into all of that, of course, if this is your first time finding my channel or watching any of my content, hello, I'm Noria. Thank you for clicking on this video, which is a part of a series where I am documenting my first time ever watch. Yes, you heard that right. First time ever watch of How I Met Your Mother. I never got around to seeing the show whilst it aired, and I've always, by some strange reason, stayed away from rooms and discussions where the show was being talked about. So I've been spoiler free for the entirety of this show. As such, I have no idea what to expect in the future seasons or episodes of How I Met Your Mother. I'm taking it one episode at a time, and when I stumble on something about the character analysis and my interpretations of their actions, or want to predict something that I think is being set up for the future of the show, I like to yap about all of that. As such, I do have a How I Met Your Mother playlist, which you can check out to see how I've been following this character so far and what my thoughts have been about them as I progress. And for those who are keeping track, I have just finished How I Met Your Mother season 3 episode 9, titled Slap Giving, or as I like to call it, the continuation of the Slapbed saga. And whilst the focus of that episode was majorly on Marshall and Barney and the promised Thanksgiving Day slap, it also centers Robin and Ted's relationship, which would be the core focus of this video. But you know how I do it. I will give a synopsis first of the episode with timestamps, of course, so you can navigate this video as you so choose. However, before I get into that, a quick thank you to my lovely patrons and YouTube members whose support have been instrumental in helping me continue to make content, especially since I started doing this full time at the start of the year, which was the last time I was in paid employment. And a special shout out to Lena and Holly for their extra support. You get all the art. Mwah! And kisses too. If you too would like to support me on Patreon or become a YouTube member to enjoy certain perks, even get a shout out, the link to do so is in the description bar. And with that said, the Slaps Given episode begins with future Ted telling his kids about the inside joke he had going with Robin back when they were dating. That was basically them doing a military salute every time either they or someone else said a phrase with a military word in it. For example, corporal punishment. It's cute and adorable whilst it lasted, but now that those same phrases pop up post their breakup, what they're instead left with is an awkward silence, as it reminds them of happier times and the fact that their relationship truly has now come to an end. Whilst they are still reeling with all of this, it's Marshall and Lily's first Thanksgiving dinner since their marriage, and Lily is obsessing about it as she wants it to be perfect and hopes to make this a tradition moving forward. She's of course excited at the thought of the gang being there, but then Robin drops the news that she would like to bring her date, the 41-year-old surfer that she's currently dating called Bob, whilst Lily objects for an entirely different reason. Remember, she wants to make this a tradition, and having them launch it with some stranger that they don't know seems out of place to her. Ted objects for an entirely different reason, seeing Bob not as the in pretty decent shape 41-year-old that he actually is and that everybody else sees him as, but as a much older Bob played by Orson Bean. As the episode goes along, we hear from Ted about the awkwardness that has descended on he and Robin's relationship now that they are not together anymore, from the eating jokes that they can't participate in anymore to the fact that neither of them can bear to be alone in the same space anymore, not even the kitchen. Their friends, of course, don't really notice as much, but they all agree to show up at Robin's place to bake pie together since the next day was Thanksgiving. Ted arrives 2 hours late, hoping that would have given everyone enough time to have arrived well before he did. But unfortunately, when Robin opens the door, he finds that they are the only two in the room, as Marshall was busy exercising his grip Lily was still panicking and prepping for the dinner the next night, and Barney was, as always, right in the middle of picking up a woman at the bar. Both Ted and Robin realized to their mutual horror that they would have to be alone in her apartment baking pies together whilst dealing with the awkwardness that is their inability to really converse as they used to whilst they were dating. The next morning, i.e. Thanksgiving, Robin heads in to chat with Lily whilst Ted heads over to talk with Marshall and Barney as they give a rundown on what happened the previous night. As expected, things were very awkward and no amount of random facts shared by Robin could save the day as Ted just blows through everything. Like the dude doesn't even attempt to meet her halfway in having a conversation. Theodore Evelyn Mosby. And to make matters worse, Robin has Ted baking pecan pie, even though she's allergic, and it slips out that Bob likes pecan pie, hence why she's baking it for him. Of course, this eventually leads to them arguing again, which then leads to them having sex. To the disappointment of Lily and Marshall, whilst Barney wants Ted to give him a relapse 5. The fucking dumbass. With advice from Lily, Robin decides that she and Ted need to talk, whilst Ted's convo with Marshall and Barney has him deciding that it will be best if he and Robin never address what happened the previous night. As one would expect, this leads to both of them once again having a drawn-out argument, which then has them both realizing that it will seem like they can't be friends anymore now that their relationship is over. They agree to finish the rest of the Thanksgiving dinner and never see each other again, which, side note, had me wondering how they legit thought that would play out without them splitting up their friend group like Ted and Robin and Barney had worried would happen when they thought Lily and Marshall were getting a divorce. Like, they're all dumbasses, Your Honor. Anyway, Bob eventually shows up for dinner complete with jello shots and everyone digs in after Marshall gives a toast that is him thanking Lily for the effort she had put in to make Thanksgiving dinner for them and start a new tradition that future Ted reminds his kids is still going on till present day. Meanwhile, Bob ends up saying, "Major boss kill," which immediately had Robin and Ted saluting without a second thought. And that moment has them realizing that there was still a connection that they shared, and who knows, maybe they could still stay friends after all. Their friends, on the other hand, groan at them still doing the same annoying ass salute. But when Ted states after they are done with dinner that there would be a major cleanup, every single one of them, Barney included, all do the military salute alongside Ted and Robin, confirming that as much as they might all complain about it, it's become a thing that they all do as friends. And I personally found that very cute. Not going to lie, I laughed. And whilst all of this is happening, we get the side plot of Marshall basically terrorizing Barney throughout the entire episode with a promised slap. Remember, their slap bet has Barney owing Marshall 5 slaps, and so far he's collected 2. And so is scheduled the 3rd slap for Thanksgiving, hence why the episode is called Slap Giving. And whilst Barney initially tries pretending like he's not affected, he eventually breaks and tries to run away, only stopping when Lily declares that as slap bet commissioner, she was mandating that Thanksgiving be slap free. Barney, of course, doesn't appreciate his good fortune and runs his mouth, to the frustration of Marshall and the mounting annoyance of Lily, who, after Barney refuses to listen to her request that he quit with his crowing, Barney legit has 0 sense of self-preservation and cannot read the room, I swear, gives Marshall permission to carry out the slap with 3 more seconds on the slap countdown to go. As one would expect, Marshall deals the heaviest of slaps that sends Barney once again toppling over, just as is done in the previous 2 times when he's been hit. Their friends, however, find this funny for some reason and end the day and episode with a song about said slap, which Barney finds himself also ad-libbing to. The end. I would like to quickly add that I really do not feel quite comfortable with the running gag of Marshall's physical assault of Barney that is played for laughs. Don't know if I'm the only one who doesn't really like it, but at the same time, I have it in my head as the show's version of karma coming back to bite Barney in the ass for all the women he's taking advantage of, because those girls might not have been able to have the opportunity to deck him in the face. But by the gods, Marshall Erickson is passing judgment on his ass on their behalf. So that is how I read that interaction. Just wanted to put that out there. Very curious to see if you all thought the same. Now, I am very aware that something this episode sought to address was the eternal question of if men and women can be friends after a relationship has ended. And yes, I am aware that the episode does have that moment at the end when Ted and Robin bond with their inside joke, and it becomes not just something that they do, but something their entire friend group actively participates in as well, which is meant to make it clear to us, the viewers, that their friendship was back on solid ground. But at the same time, the conflict that was raised in the episode had me thinking, because whilst the show might think that they had cleared it up with their quick and easy resolution at the end, it did not address what to me was the fundamental flaw in Ted and Robin's friendship. Their relationship started as a result of Ted's attraction to Robin. For 2 seasons, even whilst he was dating other women and breaking poor Victoria's heart, and yes, I will always be team justice for Victoria. The story has always situated Robin in the space of being Ted's dream girl, the one against whom he's going to measure all the other women who come into his life and who he would thus find wanting, because the comparison is always to his idealized image of Robin that he has in his mind due to the connection he felt with her on his first sighting of her that deemed her as the one. And I say idealized because we get confirmation within the show that for a long time there, Ted has no idea that Robin was a proud NRA card-carrying, gun-wielding babe. It was a part of her identity that she kept hidden from him because it was something that was in contrast to his beliefs and that he would not have been comfortable with even when the rest of their friends were in the know. I mean, her immediate reaction to threaten Marshall after she brought him to the gun range to try and cheer him up when Lily left confirms that this is not only on Ted, mind you, but that Robin herself was keeping parts of herself hidden from him because she knows that that is something he would not approve of. And I don't know about you, but that isn't something I do with my friends. Be selective of the parts of me that I get to hide or show them because I fear their disapproval. That reads more like an acquaintance I'm somewhat close to than a friend. But as I was saying, Ted and Robin's relationship started primarily due to his attraction to her and not necessarily because he took the time to know her so well. And before you start shaking your head and expressing your disagreement to my words, really consider it and think about it. The interactions we have between the McLaren 5 as far as Ted is concerned can be proudly split into 3. His friendship with Lily and Marshall, which we know predated the group coming together and has been going strong since their college years. I mean, he met Marshall and later Lily at about the same time, a couple of nights in between actually. And for a long moment there, he had even convinced himself that he was the one that kissed Lily first and would have gotten together with her until, of course, the truth is eventually revealed by the woman he had actually kissed. I am still stuck on that, you all. Anyway, then there is his friendship with Barney, which developed separately after they first ran into each other at the urinal, and Barney was trying out his pickup lines with him and recruited Ted to help him with picking up a woman at the bar. And finally, we have their friendship group as a collective, i.e. the 5 of them often meeting at either McLaren's or Ted and Marshall's apartments. Now Lily's too as well. Because for the life of me, and I'm over here just trying to think about it and see if there's a small scene that I've missed, but for the life of me, I have zero recollection of a time where Ted and Robin hung out together separate from the rest of the gang that is outside of the period when they were dating. Like, Robin has hung out with Lily alone multiple times, of course. There's no disputing that she and Lily are friends, sharing secrets with each other that others don't know about at the time. She's hung out with Barney, of course, in the episode where she served as his wingman with that iconic shot of her having a cigar with him at the club, looking so perfectly at ease. I can't recall any moment off the top of my head where she hangs out solo with Marshall, though. Or maybe I missed it, but I doubt it. And also, I don't really think of Marshall and Robin being friends in that way, separate from the others. Their friendship seems to be tied to the group, so far at least, kind of similar to her friendship with Ted. I mean, hear me out. Season 1, episode 1, Ted looks across the bar and falls hopelessly in love with her, thinking that this is the universe pointing out is one to him. And he immediately talks to her, and they have that moment of camaraderie that is built off of his desire to get into a relationship with her. The episode ends with that not happening, and when Robin shows up in episode 2, it's to become a part of the gang. Now, I want you to flash back to season 1, the entirety of it. Think of Robin and Ted's many interactions in the season and tell me at any point where the show took its time to show them building a friendship with each other alone, separate from their friends. Because initially, after she turns him down, Ted's goal was to have a casual sort of relationship with Robin, which didn't turn out so well because Ted was so in love with the idea of being in love that Robin could tell that it wasn't going to work out with them. Then we have the Nothing Good Happens After 2 a.m. episode that just confirms that when these two are alone, what fills the moment is the sexual tension and desire and emotions that they are trying to keep hidden. The entirety of their friendship is built around their mutual friends. And so when in the slap giving episode, Ted declares that he and Robin cannot be friends, it made sense to me because I just sat there in front of my TV thinking, you know what? You two have never been friends. Like, you've never taken the time to build a relationship with each other that is separate from your emotional and sexual entanglements in each other. It's why they can't spend time alone in Robin's apartment, and why the minute the rest of the gang didn't show up to bake pies with them, I just knew that things were going to go south and they would have sex, because a period where you can just hang out and simply be with one another, they have it charged with all that emotion and desire that spills through. And it had me thinking of the fact that the show never really took the time to build Ted and Robin's friendship, because no, Josh Radnor's natural charm and Ted being friendly does not immediately translate to a friendship with Robin. A friendship takes time and is earned, and whilst we see it with the others, we don't really see it with Ted and Robin. But then it led me to consider that this was not just limited to Robin alone. I do not think it is a coincidence that none of the women we've seen Ted be with so far, none of the women he's dated, whether it's Natalie or Stacy or Victoria, none of these women stayed in Ted's life after their relationship. He is not friends with any of them, because the moment of bonding that Ted has with the women is in a relationship with happens whilst he is in said relationship with them, enjoying the honeymoon phase of said relationship. We've not seen him go long term with any of them, because I wonder if Ted Mosby is not the type of guy that can't see a woman as she just is, as a potential friend, not one that he's had sex with or wants to have sex with, but just a woman that he can stay in a room together with and just chat with her without any of those complicated feelings and emotions coming into play. Except for Lily, of course. But then Lily is with Marshall, which makes her safe from all of that. But then we also find out that up until they were in their 40s and he actually met the person he had actually kissed, he legit thought that Lily was yet another woman he had made out with and had some sort of sexual romantic thing with, no matter how brief. So once again, it brings me back to my main point. Inside jokes are cute and all, but I still found the end of the episode one that has me questioning the validity of Ted's friendship with Robin, because to be quite honest, we haven't really gotten that, and it has me wondering how that would play out in the future, especially with regards Robin's future relationships, because I've quite frankly gotten tired of Ted's constant focusing on Robin's partner so far. First, it was Gael from the first episode of season 3. And yes, I wrote that off as Ted still reeling from the fact that it seemed like Robin had moved on quite quickly from him whilst he was still floundering post-breakup. But then there is Rob in this episode, and we see Ted's jealousy once again rear its ugly head, even though he's had other relationships prior to that. I mean, he was dating Stacy for almost a month due to his bet with Barney. And it had me thinking about friendships and how they change when we enter a romantic relationship and what they revert back to when the breakup occurs. Because when you really think about it, the whole argument that you cannot be friends with your ex is predicated on the fact that this is what I believe, mind you, that you both aren't friends in the first place. That one person in that relationship started off as wanting more and stayed around until they got it. And when the romantic part of the relationship was done, there was nothing really left because the initial friendship or the facade of it was always a getaway to getting more. And now that that is off the table, there's really nothing else left to work with. And I know this might sound shocking or controversial to the Ted fans out there, but that is how I think he's always moved in his relationship that we've gotten so far in the show. And that is inclusive of his relationship with Robin. And even if the show continues to show them all hanging out together, I mean, they are the McLaren 5 after all, I will still be the person sitting on the fence about Ted and Robin's friendship until we legit see them hanging out together, alone, separate from the rest of the gang, building a bond with each other that isn't tied to a romantic relationship. Because so far, I don't see that friendship. And although I'm pretty sure that season 3 is meant to be focused on Ted and Robin moving on now that their relationship is over, I wonder if we won't be getting more of this subtle hints and moments of Ted's jealousy for the rest of the show, at least until he finds his one. Because he cannot separate Robin, his friend, from Robin, his ex, and thus cannot see her as her own individual person outside of the halo of them having gotten together once and she was meant to be his one, but that didn't happen. Like, how would he react when Robin finds her big love? I don't think it's going to be pretty, especially if that happens before he finds his one. Like, a friend would be happy for you regardless, happy that you found love and someone who makes you that happy that you've decided to spend the rest of your life with them or even be with them in some capacity. But an ex whose friendship with you first started with their desire to be in a romantic or sexual relationship with you, and thus your happiness has always been tied to what they desire and want, might not be happy in that situation. Poor Robin. But of course, these are just my thoughts. I would love to hear yours. Whether or not you agree with me, please share them in the comments. Like this video, however, if you've watched this far and haven't done so yet and enjoyed anything I had to say. Share it so others can find my channel as well. Or you can check out my gaming or ASMR channels if they sound like something you might be interested in. I have them both linked in the description. I will see you tomorrow with a new video. Until then, do remember, obsessing over the things you love. Perfectly valid coping mechanism.